Did a U.S. senator get rich trading on the back of the Ukraine conflict? Some allegations say this may be happening. I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's break down what exactly is being alleged by this U.S. senator. Okay, so recently, in fact, just a couple days ago, a new type of medical device that has been tested in Ukraine called the HAV, and this is an experimental new type of artificial blood vessel that typically when a patient has some like vascular damage, right? Maybe they've been wounded and an extremity isn't getting blood flow. Surgeons will have to find another vessel in their body, pull it out, and stick it into place so that the limb can continue to get its vital supply of blood flow. But you can imagine that takes a long time. So a company called Huma Site, a tiny biotech company with a market cap of about 300 million before all this went down. So tiny by publicly traded company standards, developed a device called the HAV. This is a human acellular vessel. This is meant to be, instead of searching for someone's own vessel to do this sort of replacement, the HAV is meant to be an off-the-shelf part, just like your mechanic fixing a car. He doesn't need to pull a new sprocket or a new, tie rod from elsewhere in the car. They get one that they know is going to be compatible, and they put it into place, putting your car back in action. Well, that's the idea of the HAV. This is any person, right? Because it's a non-biological, but it's lab-grown tissue. It just doesn't register as a foreign object. It can be put into place and instantly become a potential source to ensure that limbs continue to get blood flow. And this is a device in the clinical testing stage, so it's not approved for general use here in the United States. However, they assisted Ukraine in using this. They provided assistance to Ukraine and Ukrainian surgeons who were encountering a huge number of troops who had limb injuries and who were in danger of amputation, right? Because if you fail to get blood sources to these limbs, they may need to be amputated. So the HAV goes out to Ukraine, and it's been on the battlefield or in battlefield hospitals for about a year. And just a few days ago, the results came back, and they have blown away anyone's expectations. 19 patients with vascular injuries received the HAV. 100% of the time, the limb was able to be saved, and 100% of patients survived, and critically, no cases of infection from the HAV implant. So these results were presented just a few days ago at the Military Health System Research Symposium. Right. These results are also going to be used in Huma Site's application to the FDA to try to get this available to here in the United States. This is a huge development in battlefield medicine and vascular surgery. The idea that instead of hunting for someone's own blood vessel, you can just put in an off-the-shelf vessel. Massive. And a huge impact for saving troops and getting them back to the battlefield in the Ukraine conflict. Now, what does this have to do with a U.S. senator? Well, Tommy Tuberville. That's right. Tommy Tuberville is a very active stock trader, in addition to being a full-time U.S. senator. Very busy guy, apparently. And it's fascinating that he is such an active trader because he doesn't really have a finance background. In fact, if anything, Tuberville perhaps should have learned to stay away from being an active trader. He basically was a football player and then became a high school football coach, then became a college coach, and then coached for the icon of Southern football, Auburn University, where he became a superstar, highly sought after coach, including coaching for Texas Tech, the University of Cincinnati, earning, and bear in mind, guys, if you're not from the U.S., you may think, oh, well, he was an underpaid college coach athlete. No. College coaches earn a lot of money, especially if you are an elite college coach. For example, Tuberville signed a $2.2 million contract in 2012 as the head coach of the University of Cincinnati. But then 2016, after a mediocre season, he resigned as the coach of Cincinnati and decided he wanted to do something else. So he opened TS Capital, which uncreatively named because it was Tuberville and his partner, a former Lehman Brothers broker named John Stroud, and TS, Tuberville Stroud. They created TS Capital Management and TS Capital Partners, where he had an office, helped find investors. And then, of course, 4 years later, the company was sued. Tuberville and Stroud were sued, saying that they defrauded investors of $1.7 million. Tuberville's attorneys denied the allegations, but in 2012, Stroud, his partner, was indicted. That's more than just a civil suit for the fraudulent use of $5.2 million from various Auburn-aligned investment companies, including his partnerships with Tuberville. But Tuberville was not charged, to be clear. And Tuberville said in court filings that he was also a victim and had lost almost $500,000. The investor lawsuit was settled, and in 2013, Stroud received a 10-year sentence, which is like a million-year sentence by white-collar crime standards. So obviously, Tuberville, his first foray into the world of high finance went poorly, I think it's fair to say. But nonetheless, Tuberville pivoted and ended up becoming, in 2020, elected to the Senate. Pretty incredible, right? So this football coach becomes a senator, right? And I support people from unconventional backgrounds, certainly serving in the U.S. Senate, right? We don't need an army of lawyers. Not a great sign that their business was that his business was sued and then his partner charged with fraud. But again, it's, as discussed, he may have been a victim as well. Anyway, the point is, 2020, Tuberville becomes a senator, and he has, just a lot of controversies, like every senator, different opinions about different things. That's not what's really important here. What's important is what he's doing on the side. Everyone needs a side hustle nowadays, and his seems to be being a stock trader. The couple of trades that I looked at, it looks like he's doing around 50 to 100 trades of stocks and options in a typical month. And you should ask yourself, one, how does a U.S. senator have time to trade almost twice a day every month? And also, why do they find the need to do not just individual stocks, but options plays? Options plays are technical. They require a lot of information. They're oftentimes used as hedges against other positions. They're complex financial instruments, so much so that a lot of brokers that you and I can sign up for won't actually let you trade options without explicitly petitioning them to allow you to do so. So why is a football coach turned senator trading options, again, up to an average of over 2 transactions a day, right? And when we look closely, we see that actually old Tommy Tuberville, according to disclosures, actually 3 times purchased this Huma Site stock. Each time, the trade was valued at between $1,000 and $15,000. And for the record, guys, when you usually see 3 transactions done on the exact same day, Here it is here, the 25th of July, 1, 2, 3 transactions. It's usually so that they don't raise any alarms, right? So you can see that if the limit is 15K, sometimes people will structure their transactions so that the total amount is, so if this could be up to $45,000 in transactions split out over 3, but again, on the same day. So pretty strange trading behavior. Now, Tuberville, it's worth noting, is a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, right? Which is going to have information not just on the Ukraine conflict, but on a variety of military and defense issues. So he may have had access to military intelligence and reports about Ukraine's defense tactics and equipment. But he also sits on the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. So he would be party to both military changes, but also to health and health system changes as well. So he may have access to some new information on medical technologies. And what's interesting is, according to Huma Site's website, it was no secret that they were providing this aid to Ukraine. In fact, they, by their own account, in March of 2022, worked with the Office of Internal Programs at the FDA and the Ukraine Ministry of Health to arrange for approval of the investigational HAV to be sent for humanitarian use into Ukraine. And, right, they worked, and in addition to training Ukrainian surgical teams to use the HAV, the team obviously worked very hard to get regulatory approval to send technology overseas. And you can imagine that perhaps the FDA may have disclosed some level of information to, again, these crucial Senate committees, Health, Education, and Labor, and the Armed Services Committee. Now, what did old Tommy Tuberville do? Well, what did the stock do, right? Because everybody tries their best. Well, as you can see, they made the trade on the 25th, when it looks like Huma Site was trading around $2.75 a share. But when the results of this sort of humanitarian assistance / trial came out, and remember, it was disclosed at a military medicine forum, you can see that the stock skyrocketed, nearly doubling in price to $4.48 a share. So Tuberville, of course, disclosed it on the same day that this report came out, which is statutorily required. Again, when you're making this many trades, to be clear, sometimes you're going to get lucky. That's the whole idea of diversification. But it seems unusual because when we look at his other trades that month, right, these are all household names: Carnival Corporation, Walgreens, Verizon, 3M, Under Armour, Pfizer. But randomly, you see this incredibly tiny biotech company, right, just sort of wedged in there. It seems unusual that he would pick this one small company out when he trades big blue chip stocks otherwise. And it's also absolutely brilliant timing that just as the results are made public, he's already holding potentially up to $45,000 of stock. Now, let's do a little quick math, because I love math, and see how much Tommy could have made on this transaction, right? So he's, of course, $45,000 is the ceiling of how much he could have spent. Actually, let's get Huma Site's actual stock up here, right? We won't use these estimates. Right? Huma Site stock price. Thank you. Okay, so we want probably the 1 month, right? So we want to find July 25th, right? When he made the transaction, it was $2.87 a share, and then it peaked at $4.48 a share, right? When he disclosed on the 15th. So running a little bit of math. So we have up to 45K, right? Divided by 2.87. So we know he bought he could have bought up to 15,679 shares. And then the new value, $4.48 a share. So the current value is now $70,243 minus his initial investment, means that he cleared $25,243 in just 2 weeks. Right? That's a nice return. That's a nice rate of return. Not great, given that he, was a multi-million-dollar football coach, but $20K for a side hustle, man, sure beats driving Uber. But again, guys, I want to be clear so I don't get sued. There's no evidence that I have no evidence that the senator knew anything that constituted insider information. All that this could be is just really good timing. Everybody gets lucky. And, you're a smart analytic football coach. Maybe he did some analysis using publicly available information. Highly possible. Anyway, congratulations to him and his big score on Huma Site. Things also are I just wanted to share one other just little tidbit that I find kind of interesting, right? And that is his son, who's also a public figure, by the way. It's on Wikipedia. Right? Tommy Tuberville on Wikipedia. Reportedly, his son is a young man named, Tucker Tuberville. Let's see, it should be right here. He's got 2 children. Let's see about Doug Jones. Let's see. It's not here. Weird. It was literally just on here. Very strange. But there you go. Bleacher Report. Tommy Tuberville's son, Tucker, will be QB walk-on at Auburn. Cool. So he walks on to Auburn. Right. He actually was on. Tucker actually seemed to have cycled through all of his dad's old schools, walking on to Auburn, walking on to Texas Tech, transferring to Cincinnati after his dad left the job. Right, Tucker was a top 150 high school player in Texas in 2011, Texas is a serious football area, a serious football place. Being a top 150 is you're probably a D1 caliber player. Here's where things get interesting, though. What's he doing now? Well, if this is the correct Tucker Tuberville, his son is an investment banker at Goldman Sachs. And where things get even more interesting is that he actually got picked up by a firm called Piper Sandler right when his dad looked like he was going to win the election to senator. And then Goldman Sachs scooped him up really quick when they found he was the son of a senator. And if you don't know anything about investment banking, guys, going from a BA and from Auburn, no MBA, to Goldman Sachs in just a couple of years is a pretty impressive turnaround, right? Now, again, he looks like he's done his time as an IB summer analyst and then as a full-time analyst and then working his way up. But it is sort of interesting to see that his dad's such an active trader and investor, and then one of the largest and most prestigious banks in the country goes and recruits his son. All right. But again, I have no evidence of wrongdoing. I have no evidence of insider trading. I'm just asking questions and pointing out some unusual correlations. Anyway, guys, that's all I had for you. Be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and check out combatvetnews.com for exclusive Ukraine war content. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.